So what are some of the acquisition strategies or your underwriting strategies that you can use to get a favorable loan from your lender or meet up with the lender's DSCR requirement? So typically, most lenders require that you meet up with a DSCR of 125. It means that you should be able to break even and still have about 25% cash flow on that deal. So most lenders require that you have that. So what are strategies that you can use to ensure that you meet up with the lenders and DSCR requirements, especially if you are refinancing your property? For example, if you're refinancing your property, what are strategies you should start doing now before that time comes so that you can meet up with the lender's requirements? Number one is to increase your income. So what are ways that you can increase your income? You can do that through the traditional way of renovating your unit and increasing rent. You can also do that by looking for value add opportunities and using that also to increase rent. So those are some traditional ways of increasing your income. What are other strategies that you can use before you get to the point where you want to refinance your property? You can also do that by reducing your expenses. So recently we're at the verge of collecting a supplemental loan. So one of the ways we're able to reduce our operating expense was through our insurance. So we've been shopping for insurance, and recently we're able to reduce our cost for insurance to about 65% lower than what we were getting it. So that was a very big milestone for us. That has drastically brought down our expense ratio. Another way we were able to also do that was the property was also stated in quotes that it was in a flood area. So we were able to remove the flood insurance from the property, and we were able to do that with a flood consultant that did the entire process and found out that the property was not in a flood zone. So we're able to take off the flood insurance. That also saved us a significant amount of money. The third thing we did was to also reduce our utility costs. So how were we able to achieve that? Before we took over, it was obvious. We decided to convert them into individual payments. So we repositioned the property that everybody will be paying their utility. We did that for the residential tenants. So currently the residential tenants are paying their utilities. In that way, we are not spending much on utility apart from the common areas or vacant units. These are some of the ways we're able to reduce our cost on our operating expenses. Before I forget, one of the ways we're also able to reduce our operating expenses was through reducing our advertising or marketing costs. Yes, I know some of us believe that until we are in all platforms, they will not be able to market your property, but we were able to do a market research, and based on the previous trend, we discovered that there was no need for us to put our property on some platform because it was not giving us that goal. We discovered that the previous owner was spending about 100,000 plus on just marketing advertisement, and we're able to cut down that to about 94%. So right now we're paying $6,000 versus 100,000 on our marketing and advertising. So these are some of the ways you can reduce your cost so that you can meet up with the lender's requirements of a 125 DSCR and debt service coverage. For those of you that do not know what that means, it's a requirement from the lenders that they want to see that you are still profitable after paying their mortgage. They want to see you still have some form of cash flow, not that you're just breaking even. You're also profiting from it as well. You're having some reserves in quote. So that's what it is. So another option you can do is introducing pref equity, either from your investors or maybe from your general partners. You can bring in an equity that will no way affect the DSCR of that deal. So that will not affect your deal in any way because it comes under the DSCR requirements. It means that it's not a second position mortgage. It's a kind of payment that comes at the back end. That is, you'll be able to make the lender's payment and still have your reserve, maybe 125, you still have your 25% reserve. Then it's from that 25% reserve that you will now make payment to your pref equity investors. So you can also decide to structure in that way that instead of you going for the full refinance, and you can decide to introduce pref equity and pull out cash and maybe distribute to your investor or whatever purpose you need that fund for. Another way you can go about meeting up with the lender's requirement is by increasing your leverage. For example, if the LTV is supposed to be 70%, you might decide, okay, because I want to meet up with the lender's requirement, requirement, I'm going to put more money down. So instead of a 30% down for a 70% LTV, you might decide I want to put 40% or 45 or even 50% down. And if it meets up to your returns requirement, that is, let's say you are looking for a return of an IRR of internal rate of returns of about 18%, and it meets up that requirement, meaning that you were able to put more leverage down and you still met up your returns requirement, then that might be a better approach for you to go with. So you need to just consider various ways that can work for you. Either you want to refinance, you might not need to take up the entire process of refinancing. You might just need to introduce pref equity, or you can decide, okay, I want to refinance in 5 years. I need to improve on my income, reduce my expenses, and do all that. Or also look at the other aspect of putting down more, because if you're putting down more, you must ensure that you're meeting up with your returns requirement for your investors. So I hope with these things I've been able to outline on ways that you can strategically meet up with the lender's requirements and also getting what you want. I hope this video was beneficial to you. So I would like to know, what are the things you are doing right now that is positioning you to meet up with the lender's DSCR requirements?